Hello, I'm Simon.
I'm Sally.
And this is the What the Fuck?
Hello, Simon.
How did you get in here?
It's your second favourite biologist.
How did you get in here?
Well, there was someone called Dan, and he was a little busy today, so he asked me if I could take over.
I'd like to be very clear at this point, at this moment in time, that is not true. Dan is meant to be here, but he's not.
He's gone AWOL. Where is he?
I don't know. He suggested this day. I suggested this time, and he said yes, and he's not here. So I'll give him a call midway through the podcast to see if he turns up. But yes, okay. Dan, this was meant to be our great celebratory special with Sally LePage, and he just didn't turn up. So
it's nice to know
mate.
that I am so warmly welcomed. You know, really rolling out the red carpet for me.
Yeah, if we had like Chris Hemsworth on or something like that, he'd be here in a shot. If it was somebody that, like, I don't know, somebody actually important.
If it was Dodie, he'd be here in a shot.
Yes, would you like to tell your anecdote about Dodie that just happened before the podcast?
Oh yeah, so I was just tweeting a photo of my microphone setup because in order to stop the P's and the plosive sounds from blowing up the microphone, you usually put a piece of foam over the mic. I lost that piece of foam, so I just have a sock over my mic at the moment, and tweeted it, and Dodie Clark liked the tweet. So there you go, Dan. If you were here, you would be one step closer to Dodie, but you're not, so it sucks to be you.
So when you said that it's got to stop the P's getting on the microphone, I definitely interpreted that in my head as you had like peas up your nose, and when you talked they flew out and hit the microphone. Like, I don't know why, that's the image I had in my head. Anyway, moving on. So you've got peas up your nose, and you also have a Wikipedia article for us. Do you?
I do. My article this week, Simon, is Wilkins Peak, which was the first random article out of about 4 or 5 that wasn't to do with football or was mostly in the Roman alphabet, because I'm not going to try and pronounce some Arabic characters I don't recognise. So tell me about Wilkins Peak, Simon, before I tell you anything about it.
Oh, well, Wilkins Peak is related to the much more common widow's peak. It's a form of hairstyle where it's like a mohawk, where you gel your fringe, just the fringe, into a peak just above the forehead, and it looks like a mountain. That's where it gets its name from. It's in the Pyrenees, and it looks like a pyramid, and that's the kind of that's pretty much right, isn't it?
So wait, so the mountain was named after the hairstyle, or the hairstyle was named after the mountain?
Well, obviously the hairstyle was named after the mountain. It wasn't like we had a hairstyle and then someone was like, you know that mountain, yeah? Looks just like that hairstyle.
Looks like that, yeah.
Next to Mohawk Peak.
It is a hairstyle that you do to yourself. So the widow's peak, of course, is a genetic male pattern baldness inherited on the Y chromosome. Or is it inherited on the X, which would be Y? Anyway,
you're the biologist. How am I supposed to know?
I am the biologist. But the Wilkins Peak is a deliberate fashion choice.
Yes, exactly. That's pretty much right, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is. I mean, it says that just here. It says Wilkins Peak is a small mountain located in Sweetwater County, Wyoming, between the cities of Green River and Rock Springs. So basically, it's exactly what you just said.
Yeah, I mean, I think I summarised that pretty well, actually.
You did, yeah.
So how tall is this hairstyle?
So this hairstyle is 2,330 meters, or for Simon, because earlier he was describing distances in inches and feet. Honestly, Mr. British Doctor of Physics, how dare you? It's 7,650 feet in elevation.
It's a perfectly acceptable colloquial unit of measurement.
It's not.
You know, sometimes
to be honest,
imperial's
though,
okay.
If someone was to tell you that it's 2,000 meters or 7,500 feet, I have no idea what that actually means. Like, I have no reference for that.
What? Oh, I was going to say something really clever then, and I just refreshed my Twitter feed, and someone sent me a GIF of me sledging with the caption "When you find a nut." which has just completely pushed any intelligent thoughts from my brain.
Blame it on the GIF, Simon. Blame it on the GIF.
What you were saying was, it's just big, right? As soon as you say, it's this many thousand units of anything.
But I'm looking at the map, and it doesn't look the photo. Sorry, and it doesn't look that big. Like, I don't know, how big is Mount Everest?
29,002 feet. I think.
Let me just bring it up.
Hang on. That was the initial estimate.
29,029 feet.
Oh, I was so close!
Did you know that?
How did you know
that?
I think it was because on Twitter the other day, it was a QI fact. The initial estimate was exactly 29,000 feet, but the dude thought that no one was going to believe him, so he added 2 feet just to make it look more believable. So I think that's why that was in my brain.
So it is approximately 4 times bigger than Wilkins Peak.
That's still quite... So hang on, how tall was Wilkins Peak again?
Wilkins Peak is 29,000 feet, or 8,008... No, wait, that's Mount Everest.
It's massive!
Wilkins Peak is 2,330 metres, or 7,650 feet.
So 7,000 feet is
Snowdon is 3,500 feet, so it's 2 lots of Snowdon.
Yeah. So it's,
Snowdon.
I mean, British mountains aren't really mountains. They're kind of big hills, let's face it.
Well, they are mountains.
They are, yeah. By definition, they are. And Munros, which is the definition of a big mountain in Scotland, are over 2,000 feet. Hang on, wait a second. A challenger has appeared. Dan, are you in the call?
A challenger has appeared. I am here. Hello.
He's finally made it. It's Ollie Mars.
Sorry, I was so busy in the Apple store, that I just kind of lost track of time.
It's literally
but
me.
But then I had to come back from the library, so sorry about that. Right, but I'm back here now, chaps.
For reference, Dan, Sally wanted to do the whole episode pretending to be you, and
I did.
I see.
I really did.
Okay.
Where have you been?
I got lost in some little nook of the Apple store, and but it's all right now.
I was ensconced in this nook.
I was very much so. No, I completely forgot that this was happening today.
Knew it! I bloody knew it!
Dare you, Daniel Moore?
I may have got a little overexcited in realising that because it's Easter Sunday, I didn't have work, which meant I may or may not have gone out last night. And feeling a little worse for wear, not going to lie. But here we go. We're here.
Christ wasn't the only one who rose from the dead
on the road. Oh my god, yeah. Well, the thing is, I've just been sitting on the sofa watching, this Wild Wild County documentary I was on about last episode.
No.
Yeah, I was just watching. Oh well, I was watching that on the sofa, and then I checked my phone because I just plugged it in because it had died from last night, and I saw a message from you being like, "Oh, join the call while you can, mate." And I'm like, "Oh, it's today."
I knew it. I was like, maybe something's happened. Maybe he's had to be called in for work or an emergency shift. And I was like, no, I bet to that he is just on the sofa. He's going to see like 3 missed calls on his phone and go, oh shit.
Yeah, that's literally what happened.
So Sally,
but we're here now.
Would you like? You're actually relatively early in the episode. It's fine. Sally, what are we talking about this week?
We are talking about Wilkins Peak, of course.
Yes.
And it is a small mountain in Wyoming. We haven't even got on to what it's used for yet. We are primarily talking about its elevation.
Wait, it has a use?
Lord.
It has a use. It is primarily used, which suggests that there is more than one use. It is primarily used for radio and television station transmitters. But it also serves radios for the FAA, EMS, and local businesses such as Kestar Gas. How amazing.
Wow. My goodness.
It's scintillating.
In 2003,
wait, there's
tower
more?
on the peak was knocked down by a vehicle delivering propane to customers.
Was it also delivering propane accessories? Was it just Sorry, that's like King of the Hill reference.
I did not get that.
So
there are numerous roads. It's open year round, and it's popular location for mountain biking and hiking.
Well,
goodness.
I mean, it
just gets better and better.
It's quite a sizable mountain from our extended discussion of how big is a mountain.
It is. It's 2 Snowdons. But also, this Wikipedia article tells me exactly what type of television transmitters and radio towers are on this mountain.
And of course, you're going to tell us.
There is a whole set. So there's a tiny paragraph about the geology of it. and there's an entire section about radio and television uses.
Is there anything interesting in that? Let's cut to the chase. Is there anything interesting in the transmitters?
No. Looking through it, no. There is
honesty
other than that power getting knocked out by the propane vehicle's brakes failing, there is nothing of interest.
It matches much of the articles we discussed then.
Yeah, it fits in perfectly. It's so on theme.
But it's very important that everyone knows that current trail maps can be obtained for free at the Green River Chamber of Commerce at the visitor centre. So there is a visitor centre for this map.
Montana's where...
Which is a good job because it's in Wyoming, which is a rectangle.
Sorry, Wyoming. Because, Hank Green lives in Montana, was what I was going to say.
He does, yes. Which is very beautiful. It's really stunning, Montana.
When did you go?
I went when I was filming with GE. I went to chat to it's not Tom Thumb, it's Jack Horner, who is a dinosaur expert.
So you just I know it's not that childhood parable or rhyme. It's
basically, yeah. Because who's actually called Jack Horner? So little Jack Horner was the dinosaur expert that they based Sam Neill's character off in Jurassic Park. So he is the scientific advisor for Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. I was filming a video at GE about the science of Jurassic World when it was about to come out, so they flew me to Montana for a day.
Because so Wyoming is the perfectly rectangular state, isn't it? It's the one that's in the north.
It's not perfectly rectangular.
Oh, okay,
so
sorry.
if you look at there are some border disputes that you can see in the top left-hand corner. But to first approximations, it's very much a rectangle.
But is it a very flat state? Because what I'm getting at is, do people put the antennas on top of the mountain because it's the only high ground? So there's Obi-Wan Kenobi's there, and these antennas are on top of it. Is that why they're there?
Sorry, what has Obi-Wan Kenobi got to do with anything?
High ground.
She hasn't seen Star Wars, Dan. I don't know.
I have, which is really annoying because I saw 2 Star Wars films. My life has not been benefited in any way by watching them.
Which ones did you see? Which ones did you watch?
I can no longer say that I've never seen Star Wars. So I have lost being able to say that I've never seen Star Wars and not gained anything. I saw number 7 and number 4.
Oh, yeah, because you were the lead role in number 7. Oh, wait, no, that was Daisy Ridley. You just sound exactly the same. And by seeing number 7, you'd already seen number 4 because it's just a remake.
So 7 was the first one I saw in the cinema, and I watched the whole thing with some friends of mine that are very big Star Wars fans. And at the end of it, I just sat there, it's credits rolling. What the is the Force? Was the first thing I said after watching that film. They never explain it anywhere. It's so inconsistent. It's the Force is used to move things, to control people, to send thoughts. You know what? Any plot hole that we need filling in, we'll just pretend that the Force can do it. It's never explained anywhere what the limits of it are. It's oh no, they're trapped, but they can just use the Force to get out. Hey!
To be fair, the last
terrible.
time they
It's
tried
really
to explain the Force was in the prequels, and it was so universally hated that I think they were we're just not going to explain it. It's just nicer if we don't know.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen...
Well, they tried to root it in biology, didn't they? Which just made absolutely zero sense.
Yes. There was metachlorians in your bloodstream, and if you have a high metachlorian count, you're Force capable and a Force user, which was dumb, and everybody hated it immediately.
Because you're talking about Star Wars, I'm actually more interested in how flat Wyoming is, and the highest point is 2,000 meters and the lowest point is 945 meters.
So it's pretty flat.
That what you will.
That's very little variance, isn't it?
It's a Snowden's worth of variance. No,
I suppose actually
it's more than a Ben Nevis worth of variance.
But if you the lowest point of the UK is presumably slightly below sea level, right?
Yeah, but Ben Nevis is only 1,345 meters.
And
this has a variance of over 2,000.
Oh, okay, so it's not that flat then. So
over 3,000. Sorry, it's a lot less flat than the UK.
Okay, I was completely wrong then.
Hey, did you know that Ben Nevis translates to venomous mountain?
No,
I didn't know that because Ben is the English spelling is different from the Gaelic spelling, which is like more complicated. And I think that bit specifically means mountain. Because like on Sky,
Binn.
Yeah, Ben. Because there's Ben the Calach which is next to my relatives who live on Skye, and that's like, I can't remember, that's like Old Woman Mountain or something like that. But then like a lot of mountains are called mountain because English appropriates the name from their language. Like Mount Fuji is mountain.
We were literally having this conversation last night over Easter dinner as to how the Celtic language is hardly anywhere in English. So we've got the Anglo-Saxons invaded the Celts. And normally when you invade a country, you pick up lots of words from the language. So, for example, we've got lots of Indian words in our language since the Indian colonization. But despite the fact that the Angles invaded the Celts, there's hardly any Celtic words in there at all. Like, pretty much all of our words are Old English, so from the Anglo-Saxons onwards. And the very few places where we can see it is in word names. So like Penillow Hill is hill, or River Avon is river, and various Tor, Pen, Beck, I think might be Celtic as well. But yeah, so you get the Celtic followed by the Anglo-Saxon followed by the modern English in a lot of UK place names.
Because I imagine basically the Roman colonizers arrived, took one look at the way the language worked and was just like, nope, absolutely not. We're not having any of that. We're just going to stick to our Latin. Like, just, I don't know, is that, do you think that's just because they were so imperial about it? They were just like, we have a superior way of communicating. And, you know, this is the barbarian. Because obviously barbarian comes from the disdain they had.
Barbaros.
Well, that was what the sound they thought they made, right? It was the fact that all their languages
it
sound
wasn't
like...
from the Brits, though. It was from a different part. I can't remember which part of the world it was. But they thought that the sound was blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But when the Romans invaded, modern English has both Anglo-Saxon and Latin in it. So it has assimilated both languages.
Yeah. Sorry. Dan, can I just talk about the fact that Dan subtly dropped in the conversation earlier, being like, oh, I went out last night, and so, you know, I was a bit late up. He's just messaged me on Facebook saying, Christ, I feel like death. Like...
I'm really not doing okay, guys. This is quite severe.
You're like,
Don't worry, I can take over if you want. Oh, sorry, I had too much to drink last night. I think I'll go and have 40 winks.
I mean, I don't need to be here.
Yeah, Dan,
I absolutely don't need
slack
to
this
be
one
here.
off. We're just talking about language acquisition and colonization, and Dan's just there like, oh, I am not in a good way.
I'm literally sitting in the corner of like a very cold, dark living room, just kind of hunched over my laptop, being like, "Oh God,
mate, I'm in a dressing gown and I've got a blanket on my knees. You need to be more of a granny."
Nice. Well, see, I was quite kind of, I was all kind of wrapped up, snug as a bug in the proverbial rug on the sofa watching this documentary, and then I just went on to kind of like all cylinders firing when Simon messaged me being like, yeah, we're recording now, come whenever you like. I'm like, oh God, what have I done? I've timed this all wrong.
And there's a thing later that you need to get to as well, is that right?
Yeah, there is. So there's a special, because it's for Easter Sunday. I was meant to be going to Matins this morning. Good job I didn't go to that, otherwise I just wouldn't have been able to record at all. But there was some great music, and then there's quite a spectacular even song. Hal St. Paul's is the canticles. So very nice indeed.
I don't know why, but the word canticles sounds like a mixture of cankles and testicles.
Yeah.
That's my contribution to this discussion.
That's great. That's great.
Well, you're a musician yourself, Sally. After all, like you,
I am, but I just don't
and
particularly
piano?
like clarinet and piano. Yeah, but I just don't really like church choral music, which is a shame because I sang it for pretty much all of school.
That's all for this week's episode. Be sure to send in your stuff to spongyelectric@gmail.com.
I'm all about modern pop. It's all about modern pop.
When you say pop,
and romantic orchestral music.
So give.
I mean stuff in the chart, Simon.
Oh, okay. Never mind. There's
a new Eminem and Ed Sheeran duet, which is really odd because you're listening to it and you're thinking, this is an Eminem song I don't remember from the 90s, and then Ed Sheeran starts singing, like, that guy sounds awfully like Ed Sheeran, but why the hell would the two collaborate together?
And then Eminem starts rapping about like being nice to women and just like guilting them into sleeping with him. Sorry, what? Is it just me that finds
a word of that?
Is it just me that finds Ed Sheeran songs like it's basically like guilting women into like into sleeping with, like not necessarily sleeping with, but it's just a bit like oh, I'm in so much emotional pain, please be nice to me and be my girlfriend kind of vibe.
No, Simon, that's just called being nice.
It can, as the sentiment goes, I think he does sometimes fall into the trap of sounding a little laboured. Oh, there's a robin on the fence.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
For this podcast
I can see the robin.
Oh, bye-bye.
Hang on, let me see what's on my bird feeder. See if I got the goldfinches there. Oh, no, nothing's on the bird feeder. That's a shame.
I'll have a look out my window. Hang on.
Please write in to spongyenelectric@gmail.com and tell us what
Electric.
bird you have. Pardon?
Spongy Electric.
Spongy Electric.
We had this problem.
Please
we fell
email
into this
in
trap for like the first 3 episodes.
spongyenelectric@gmail.com and tell us what birds you have outside your window right now.
I just have a thing of primroses outside my window. I can't see any birds. There's a lovely stone hippo that I can see, but
Wow.
Yeah, Mum really likes hippos. I don't think I've ever talked to you about this, but she really bloody loves hippos. I think she feels a kindred spirit in their body image. And just like there's loads of hippos all over the house.
Wow, how lovely.
Yeah, it is nice, isn't it? So Sally, I realised that we didn't actually introduce you.
I have been mentioned on the majority of podcasts to this point.
Probably. So
because I do listen along in the lab. I'm like, hey, I got my name mentioned again. Hey, I'm in there again. It's kind of like a bingo score sheet of, are they mentioning me? And is Simon being really insulting towards me? Then I'll tick it off and give myself a gold star.
Yep, that sounds about right. I mean, so other than us introducing you, who are you and why are you on our podcast?
I don't know why I'm on the podcast. I'm on the podcast because Dan's forehead and Simon's beard petitioned for it. But I am Sally LePage. I am a biologist finishing my PhD at the University of Oxford. Simon and I were at Oxford together, although we never actually met during the 3 years that once. We overlapped at Oxford.
Did I ever tell you the first time I saw one of your videos? Because it wasn't online. The first time I was ever aware of you was at an awards ceremony. That you weren't at.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It was when, because I got an Ox Talent Award for I think it was for the St. Peter's YouTube channel. So I made this whole YouTube channel, and you were given this award, I think, for your thing on evolution.
But they never told me that I got an award.
Oh, did they not? Okay.
No, they invited me to the ceremony and I was busy that day, so I was like, oh, I won't turn up. And then I never heard about it ever again. And then I remember you telling me that, oh yeah, they presented you with an award. I'm like, oh, I probably should have turned up then.
But the first time I saw you, it was this you jumping out of various things, like out of a shed and going, evolution!
Evolution!
And then like wings
Evolution!
appearing. And I just remember sat at the back of this room and thinking, this girl, she's f***ing annoying. Like, I really hope I never have to work with her in the future.
Oh, no.
And here we are. So
here we are.
We've both come up.
The rest is history.
We've come up quite well out of it. But you have been known to make videos, and I got rickrolled, Dan. I got rickrolled so bad.
You should have been told that. Oh, it's brilliant. Oh, Dan, you missed this. This was just before we went on air.
What's happened?
It was. Simon was obviously just scrolling through my Twitter feed and says, oh my God, you made a video, because I haven't been making videos in the last 6 months because unlike Simon, I try to have a life and not burn out every 2 months. And
Guilty.
So although I do make YouTube videos, I'm not making them at the moment in my last year of the PhD. And so he's like, oh my God, you actually made a video. And I was like, wait, what? Oh yeah, I made a video. You should definitely click on it. It's really short. And he clicks on it, and it is everyone's favourite song, Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up.
No.
Which is
so
genuinely
well
a great song. I was like bopping along to it this morning.
You'd made like a fake thumbnail and everything.
I had made a fake thumbnail. I'd taken a really old video of, it was another GE video where I was playing in a music studio, playing piano, and they'd done amazing backlighting of me at the piano and put like science of music. And and then he got rickrolled. That was my April Fool's for this morning.
But yeah, so you are an online video maker / presenter, and that's how we are. That's how we knew each other after, despite not knowing each other at Oxford. So that's why Sally is here, and why we're talking about this weird mountain in Wyoming. That's kind of why we're in this situation. Although, as it turns out, was it last night? It was this weekend. I don't know if you're aware of this, Dan, but the Discord did their own podcast.
I think I saw something about this on Twitter.
Yeah, so our Wikicast Discord, there's a link to it in the description, in the show notes.
I joined Discord just to see what Discord was. I mean, it's basically just a message board, right?
It's a messy message board as well.
But it's just any old, like, it could as well be, I don't know, Instant Messenger or something.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I think it's specifically built for gamers. You can, like, assign roles like tank or DPS or stuff, and, you know, you can group people up by that. But we I went incognito. Only one person recognised who I was. Most impressively, by the fact that the profile picture I used was of Scott Moyer, Canadian Olympic athlete who happens to bear more than a passing resemblance to Simon. I look like an Olympian. I'm not complaining. But we
fantastic.
But basically, in your words, he has got the better bum.
He's got an amazing ass, and you didn't even notice. He's got such a nice bum.
I hadn't noticed, but he does. Since Simon pointed out, I have now noticed that he does have an amazing ass.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
But
win-win.
But the Discord, basically, because we didn't release an episode last week because it was just there was too much stuff going on. It was Holy Week, so we couldn't record. It was just too much, and they were like, "Well, we'll do our own podcast," and it was interesting, to say the least. I sent in a happy little email, basically saying how this is the final stage of my plan is complete, because now I generated a podcast which generated an audience, and then I started cashing in on the audience, and then the genius step was getting the audience to make their own podcast, so that I then just skim money out of a closed loop of podcast consumption and creation. And you know, I think a lot of people were just like, oh my god, this is we've been done, we've been duped.
So you've made a perpetual content creating machine.
Yep, and now I just sit back and reap that sweet Patreon dollar. It's amazing.
Nice.
The Patreon money is definitely we're way in deficit as a podcast. I'd like to emphasize that we are basically donating money to Wikipedia every month. So that's where a substantial chunk of the Patreon does go to, as well as hosting. So I'm not actually pumping our fans for cash. I'm not pumping our fans for anything, mercifully, because I'd probably get in a lot of trouble.
I should hope not.
Yes. But yeah, so you know, we've been replaced. The fans have replaced us. We've added Sally into the mix because apparently, you know, we were out of inspiration. You know, and you know, Sally also just ended up replacing Dan for the first God knows how long of the podcast.
I mean, frankly, I couldn't tell the difference.
I mean, I couldn't. I was very confused. I joined the call. I'm like, wait, did I already what's going on? Hang on, am I really that hungover?
So, shall we... I mean, is there anything more to discuss in this article, Sally? Or shall we take a skip over?
I mean, unless you want to know about the specifics of the television and radio towers, or some good walks and hikes around the area and access to the area, and whether or not the roads are paved, I don't think there's much more to chat about.
Right, well, let's take a quick trip over to Sally's favourite corner. It's Critics' Corner.
Ah.
Oh. Ooh.
Right. So, Sally...
Right.
That's what they sound like in that one shot. I will have to find that clip and put it in the episode now, because I maintain there is one shot where that's what TIE fighters sound like. So why, Sally, do you hate Critics' Corner so much?
I don't like Critics' Corner because it's just the two of you talking about things that 99% of the time I haven't and I'm not going to read /see/listen to. And it's like, yeah, I really don't care, you know?
Don't hold back, Sally. Tell us how you really feel. Go feel like
I normally listen to the podcast when I'm in the lab and I'm counting or weighing dead frozen flies, which is what I research. And
no, you just do it for fun.
So I'm already doing a really monotonous, tedious task. And so I put the podcast on, so I was like, oh, what are they talking about this time? And to listen to whether my name's been mentioned because of the narcissist that I am.
Yeah.
And then even despite the fact that I'm weighing flies and finding it really boring, I find Critics Corner sometimes even more boring still.
So how about then
Play.
this Critics Corner? What's your favourite way of weighing flies? Is there a particular favourite
Oh my God.
instance?
We bought a new microbalance for the lab, and it's friggin' amazing.
Just to be
It's
absolutely
so
clear,
cool.
just to be absolutely, you thought we were boring.
Yeah, I was going to say, you haven't. This tangent's gone all wrong. It's really boring. Let's spice up the conversation with talking about scales and dead flies. It's perfect.
Sally knows how to
It's got
revitalise a podcast.
It's got a hand sensor so that the door of
Oh!
the balance opens with the hand sensor, and then you press a button on it and it types it into my computer for me.
For you?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's the future.
That's amazing.
I mean, this thing costs like 20 grand just to weigh flies.
What's it made
It's really
of?
quite high tech.
Is it made of solid gold?
No, but it can weigh down to 5 decimal places after the milligram, I think.
Okay, so why is it necessary to have that level of precision?
Because I'm weighing tiny things.
So let's go up a level then. Why are you bothering to weigh tiny things? Like, what's
Because
the
I
point?
want to measure their fitness.
Okay, let's go up another level. Why do we care about the fitness of dead flies?
Because I want to see if they respond to relatedness.
I would go up another level, but I actually just don't care. Dan, what have you been watching recently?
Well, I watched this really great documentary about weighing dead flies, and the thing. No, what have I been watching? Well, I rewatched The Road to El Dorado.
For the
That's the
50th
Disney
time.
film with a camel.
Yeah, it's
Wait, hang on. Does it have a
awesome.
camel?
It's so good.
I think the more shocking thing is it's a Disney film that I've actually seen.
Yeah, well, it's just something that you've seen.
Yeah, anything.
And it's not.
Okay, I'd like to
Fly
point out,
related.
seeing as this is Critics Corner, that Simon will often say that I have objectively bad taste in films.
You just do. You just do.
This is someone with a PhD who believes that taste is objective.
Oh, I totally get the taste is subjective, but I have never come across someone with such abysmal taste as you.
But but because there's no such thing as bad taste. It's different. I will totally accept that the two of us have completely polar opposite tastes, but I will not sit here and let you say that mine is worse. They are different.
But you okay? What? Give me some of your top favourite films then, Sally. Just for the class. What are the top 5 films?
Not just your favourites, your top favourites.
Yes, your top.
My top favourites.
Your top
Okay, I'm thinking of the
favourites.
ones that come to mind. Okay, so Spotlight.
Okay, fair.
Good
That is
shout.
an amazing film. Eddie the Eagle.
Okay, and now.
Okay, now we're
Yeah,
going south.
Have you seen
Yeah.
it though?
I have, yes.
Is it not such a happy, uplifting film with an amazing soundtrack?
It is, but if you're talking about your favourite films, you can't, kick the ball rolling with Spotlight and immediately go yes, brilliant, important film, really well made,
I don't care
poignant.
if it's important or well made. I care about how it makes me feel when I watch it.
And Spotlight and Eddie the Eagle are the two that
I want a
jump
bit
to
of
mind.
balance. I don't just want depressing stories about the Catholic Church paedophilia scandal. I do
Sometimes-
also want a nice, light-hearted story about a guy that manages to make it into the Winter Olympics.
It's got Hugh
I'm
Jackman.
totally the same.
I'll
For
give
me,
you
it would be like Legally Blonde and Schindler's List.
I've not seen
they're just
Schindler's List.
inseparable.
Music is good, though. What other films did I say? Oh, I did watch Moulin Rouge recently. That is a bloody good film.
Nice. Yeah,
Imagine
okay.
Me and You is the best at the gay genre, but that's really not saying much. But it is a good rom-com. I will give it that. I do love a good rom-com.
Sally, have you seen Blue is the Warmest Colour?
Yes, it's
Yeah, it is.
Oh, you think so
pretty
too?
much.
Moving on.
Because all the other criticism I've heard has been very positive for that film.
Blue is the Warmest Colour.
Yeah.
It's just shit. It's so bad.
It's not very good.
All right. I mean, I haven't seen it, so that's interesting that you both agree.
So yeah, my 3 films apparently of today are I keep thinking it's not Contagion, Spotlight, Eddie the Eagle, and Moulin Rouge. I think that gives you a good... I like dramas based around people, and I think the people and the characters are the most important thing. I don't care if it looks good if there isn't a good enough story and good enough characters.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
Spotlight is a film that takes that to the extreme. Like it's almost like it's trying to be as boring as possible whilst focusing entirely on very small character changes. You've got Eddie the Eagle, which is a pure feel-good character film.
Switch your brain off watching kind of thing.
It just makes you feel really happy. And then Moulin Rouge is a musical, so what's not to love?
And I know that your favorite Disney film is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Is that right?
Yes.
Which is fair.
I
agree with you
because I have been catching up on Disney films because I didn't watch any as a kid.
So what other Disney films have you seen?
I mean, list them, and basically, if it's a classically animated film before Road to El Dorado, I won't have seen it except possibly in the last 2 or 3 years when I'm trying to catch up. But I mean, you can list them if you want. I can say whether or not I've seen it.
So, like Lion King?
Seen, but only when I was 15.
Okay, we can alternate this. Dan, do you want to plumb the depths here?
Yeah. Okay. Have you seen Treasure Planet?
No.
Oh,
actually, I might have seen that when that came out at the cinemas because that's one of the more recent ones.
Yeah, it's so underrated. It's fantastic. It's also got a bloody brilliant film score.
I don't remember anything about it.
Oh, you have to rewatch it. It's fantastic.
What about?
So I've watched a few recently actually because it was Road to El Dorado, which is kind of like Ed and I. It's our go-to kind of. We're having a bit of a lazy evening. Let's just stick it on, and because we can basically recite that film.
Oh my god! I can't believe that is your go-to film.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just easy watching, and we know it so well.
Because Dan and Ed are the two main characters.
It's just such an obscure film to know so well. It's not one of the big ones.
No. Unlike Eddie the Eagle.
Unlike Eddie the Eagle, which is a classic.
Have you seen, like, The Matrix, Sally?
I've seen definitely number 1 multiple times. I think I might have tried to sit through 2 and 3, but got so bored that I don't remember
they're not
anything
good.
About
But
them.
did you think that 1 was a good film?
I watched 1 very soon after it came out, which was when I was quite young, and I remember being terrified of the bit where he goes through the pink goo. I haven't watched it in a long time, though.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's a bad film, but I think I was just too young to really enjoy
It's
it.
one of the greatest films of all time, never mind. But you've seen The Lord of the Rings?
No.
Oh my god.
I've seen possibly the first one, or maybe half of the first one. My sister is the biggest Lord of the Rings fan ever, and they came out when she was the right age for them. And I think she basically, either I didn't watch TV or I had to watch Lord of the Rings because she'd hogged the TV. And yeah, so I didn't enjoy it, and I've definitely not seen 2 or 3.
Harry Potter?
Yes.
What do you think of Harry
Although
Potter?
I don't think I've actually seen the very last Harry Potter. The number 7 part 2.
Right.
Wow.
Have you read the books?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right. So, you're not just like, I wonder how that Harry kid got on in the end, you know? Like...
Well, no, because we were the age where the books came out and you would queue up at the bookshop to get them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, in fairness, since the time I've known you, you have been making efforts to improve yourself via film and actually watch a few things. Because when I first met you, you hadn't seen anything, as far as I could tell.
No, I hadn't seen any films that you valued. I'm sure there are plenty of films that I have seen that you haven't.
Yeah, well, I mean, for example, like you gave a critique of gay rom-coms to me the other day, and I was like, I haven't seen any of these. This is how you feel, like talking to me.
Yeah, because gay rom-com... So I have a thing on Twitter called Happy Lesbian Films, which is trying to find a happy lesbian film, and so far failing, because all lesbian films have... Either one of them is cheating on a boyfriend, husband, or partner. No, it's always male. There's a big coming out story like, oh my god, am I gay? How is my family going to react? There isn't a happy ending, and one of them dies at the end. Those are the tropes of lesbian films. So trying to find a lesbian film where neither is cheating, they're happy about their sexuality, they don't have a big coming out story, they get a happy ending and no one dies. I have yet to find one, and I have been searching through literally hundreds of films.
Well, if anyone would like to recommend one for Sally, send us an email at spongyelectric@gmail.com, and then
there is
Sally will have to
one
listen
that
to the next
looks
episode.
promising.
Which is?
Yeah, there's one about some vampires, which is an indie TV show that's been made into a film that I haven't watched yet. That looks like the only one.
There you go. I recently watched Pride. Not really a rom-com, but that was quite
anymore.
nice,
I can't
pleasant
hear
kind
anyone.
of,
It's a BBC
but I'm
film.
still recording.
Yeah.
It's
still
very
recording.
much a BBC film. But I will tell you something that I have seen that I am super excited about. It's called Black Sails. Have either of you seen it?
No.
Gonna turn off
It's a
Wi-Fi
TV show that was in America, I think 2014 to 2017. There are 4 series, and it's about pirates, and it's so good. I have literally binge watched all of it in the last 3 weeks. I have only 3 episodes to go. Episodes are an hour long, and it's supposedly like really gritty and realistic. So although it's about pirates, it's focusing arguably more on like taxes and the finances and the PR of being a pirate captain, and then also like selling secrets and running a brothel and how to be a woman with power in a 1700s-ish world. And it's so good. And there's a load of lesbian sex in it, which is quite fun.
I'm back! I'm back! Sorry, my internet died.
Of course,
we were just talking about lesbian sex,
as soon as we mentioned lesbian sex, you literally exclaim, "I'm back!"
I completely missed. I was just like, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Sorry, I just thought I'd announce myself. I didn't realise that was so perfectly timed.
You'll listen to this back and you'll realise how perfect your timing was.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Okay, jolly good. What did I miss then, apart from lesbian sex?
It's a pirate
really cool
TV
film
series on Amazon Prime called Black Sails, which is really about the day-to-day of being a pirate, and it happens to feature a lot of lesbian sex.
I mean, I'm in. That sounds fun.
It's really good.
I still need to watch on Amazon The Man in the High Castle, which I know
I've
Dan's
not seen that.
a fan of.
Oh, it's so good. My goodness. I watched both series in the space of about 3 days in the holidays, and it's fantastic. It was one of those times where Simon would come home, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm just starting to watch this thing. It's really quite good." Then you get up the next morning, come downstairs. I'd still be downstairs, like huddled in the corner on the sofa, being like, "It's so good. I can't stop."
You do develop quite obsessive behaviours when it comes to watching stuff.
To watch it, yeah. So
I do that as well.
I've nearly finished all of Mad Men, and there's like
that is a lot of Mad Men.
10 episodes a season, and there's 7 or 8 seasons.
Yeah.
God, that's
there's
so
more
many
than 10.
It's like Congress.
I think there's like 20 in a season, isn't there? For Mad Men.
I think you might be right.
It's a proper American style thing.
Yeah, the thing too is that it's so in the kind of, when you really think about it in the broad scope of things, because it's set the drama around the world of advertising and kind of men in the 50s, early 60s, where they're just kind of sleeping around and drinking, and really as far as kind of what actually happens, there's little to no drama at all, but you get so caught up in this microcosm of just tiny insignificant stuff that you'll be like, oh, a really major companies just might be leaving the corporation, and it's like bomb has been dropped. You're like, oh my god, no, but that's going to really badly affect sales. You know, but for some reason you're so obsessed with it.
Yeah.
It's very
Do you
good.
ever find though that you watch it for so long that you kind of reach saturation point and you just have to walk away, and then sometimes you don't go back to finish it?
Yes, yeah.
Because I do.
So there'll be times where I'll be watching it and I'll be like, oh, I need to cook dinner. And normally if I'm really into it, I'll like pause it, cook dinner, and then come back. But I'll just have it on in the background and be like, I kind of get what's going on at the moment, but I'm not so invested that I care if I miss a scene. Mm-hmm. You come back and he's sleeping with someone else, and you're like, oh, well, there you go, classic Don Draper.
Oh, yeah. I do also appreciate how we have been talking a long time in Critics Corner as
thank you very much. I was waiting for you to notice.
Favourite section.
Yep, we finally.
It's like, God, I hate it when they start talking ages about Critics Corner, she says, going off on one.
But it's fun to talk about things that you like, you know?
Yeah, but it's really indulgent to then expect people to listen to it.
Certainly, with a podcast, it's easier to talk about things that you like than things that you don't like.
Yeah. So, Sally, let's talk about you for a bit. Sorry. I actually, before we leave Critics Corner, I want to give a shout out to, there's 2 new creators that I found, very, very different on YouTube. One is a guy called Flammable Maths, who does maths, what I call mathememetics, because he does like basically.
That was so contrived.
Wow.
No, it's something that that's in the comments on his, and it makes sense like visually. Basically, he does complicate integrals and things like that, but like in a very clear way. But he also he's just a dude with a chalkboard, but he talks as if they're memes. So instead of talking like about an infinite series, you'd be like, so we've got this infinite boy here, and it's quite a spicy meme, so we need to simplify that. And he's not got very many subscribers, but I was like, yes, that's a format that's really good. So Flammable Maths. I watched one video and I immediately supported him on Patreon, and I'm subscribed. You should check him out for mathematicians that are listening. And
if we're doing educational channels, I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So mine is Hayley Loren, who is an engineer.
Yes.
Who has been making kind of chatty engineering videos. So if you like vlogs and you like people just kind of casually talking to you as they go about your business, their business, your business, as they go about their business, and or maybe they're doing your business, I don't know. And they're just kind of, it's just nice to put on in the background. But she is a professional engineer and is often talking about engineering. And so her Twitter is the Hayley Loren. And yeah, she's just Hayley Loren, Loren, and and she's ginger. So what more could you possibly want?
Oh, all the best people are ginger.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
But so actually, on a similar vein, the other one that I was going to recommend, and I got completely obsessed with, is what you could think of as like a classic YouTube video essay channel, like Every Frame a Painting kind of thing, but much longer form. And it's the first time I've seen one of these channels that's by a female creator.
I know exactly which video you're talking about, and it's bloody brilliant.
This is the Hobbit one you're thinking of.
Yes.
Yeah. This is by a creator called Lindsay Ellis. I'll leave a link in the show notes to all of these things. But I've watched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 of her nearly hour-long reviews of films, and they're like really, really good analysis of, for example, the one that Dan's talking about is The Hobbit, and about why it's terrible compared to The Lord of the Rings. But she's also done one on Mel Brooks and why it's okay to do Springtime for Hitler, and how that is a powerful, way of putting Nazis down, but something like American History X isn't, and that can be enabled, that can be used by the alt-right. But she's also done one on The Hunchback of Notre Dame. She's done one on Bright, because you watched Bright, didn't you? And you hated it.
I did. I was really quite disappointed by it.
You should watch her video on it, because as soon as I watched it, I was like, how did anyone not think of this whilst not think this is a bad idea? But yeah, those are two creators I've recently got really into, so I just thought I'd give them a happy little shout out.
Nice.
Anything you'd like to add to that, Dan, or should we take a hop, skip, and a jump over to the next corner?
As far as things to add, I can't emphasize enough. People need to watch this Wild Wild Country documentary on Netflix. It's so cool. It really, really is. It's so well made. It's the amount of time that it must have taken them to gather all this information. I have no idea. It's a kind of masterpiece of a documentary. It's really, really good. Yeah. Oh, and Jesse Aldo 6 new album came out 2 days ago.
Oh, the recordings on YouTube at the moment are so good.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Oh, sorry, Sally. We're back on choral music, but Jesus
don't worry. I'm just browsing the Discord now.
Don't avert your eyes.
It's really bad when we've all kind of established that I'm not in a great place right now. Sally just spoke and I forgot she was here. I was like, oh my god, that's it. Wait, what was it? I genuinely thought it was just us talking like we normally do.
In your brain, Dan.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, I properly jumped. Jesus Christ.
Oh god, Sally's here.
Yeah.
I too just sometimes wake up in a cold sweat. I'm like, oh, Sally.
I just creep out from around the corner in Bristol. It's like, hello, Simon.
Hello. Do you want to learn about dropsophilia?
I'm sorry, what?
Isn't that what your flies are called? Dropsophilia?
Dropsophilia?
Yeah, isn't that it?
Drosophila.
Oh, whatever. I don't know. I'm not a biologist.
Drossos as the Greek for Jew, and phila as the Greek for loving. Jew-loving flies.
Oh, D-E-W.
D-E-W, yeah.
Right. Oh, cool. Oh, okay.
And Melanogaster with... No, Drosophila. Yeah. Not philia. Phila.
Oh.
So Drosophila. Yeah, but emphasis... Yeah, there we go. And then Melanogaster, Melano, dark, Gaster, belly. They've got black bellies.
No one flies like Gaster. No one sighs like Gaster. Have you done that one before, Sally? Is that a new thing?
No. So normally, because we have loads of different mutants that we use to screen our flies, and one of them is brown eyes, and then you got, you're my brown-eyed fly, and then you just start going off into that one. Or this is a shout out to my eggs, which is a Little Mix song. when you're doing egg counts. There's so many.
I'm just surprised that Gaston hasn't appeared there.
No,
that just feels like a natural one.
I can be brown, I can be blue, I can be frozen, dead flies. That could work as well.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. That's not bad.
Of course,
Music
there
is a thing.
There are plenty of songs with just fly in the title if we're feeling like Dan is this morning, someday I'll fly away. That's a mistake. That's a pro tip for people in a relationship. Don't grab your partner's saddlebags and then wave them around while singing One Day I'll Fly Away. It didn't. That one wasn't. It wasn't with Pixel Girl. That was a previous relationship. But oh boy, that was a bad idea.
Wait, you actually did that?
Yes, I actually did.
That's not really a pro tip, is it? Because I think any other normal functioning human would know that that's not a good thing to do.
Have you seen the Discord, Dan? Our fans are not normal functioning human beings.
Jesus.
Yeah, don't do that, kids. That was a bad call on my part. Pixel Girl is happy, I'm told, in our relationship. Top lad.
And it comes to that time once again where we must say a massive thank you to our Patreon supporters. Your support means so much. We also need to check the tally between Team Cat and Team Dog. I'm not up to date. But yeah, guys, as we say each episode, it's so important, and so we're so grateful for everything that you do. It means that the podcast is now totally self-sufficient and thriving. We're still waiting on news for merchandise and things
soon.
But it's very, very exciting times. So thank you so much.
And Dan appreciates you so much that he's now. Wait, where are you going, Dan?
I'm leaving. I'm going to go and have a shower and then leg it to the cathedral.
I do love that we appreciate you so much. And now I'm off. And
yeah. It's really, really great.
Shirking my duties.
Terrible.
But yes, I've got to leg it because I've massively it today. So wish me luck, basically.
Very good. Okay, right. Well, nice for you to join us for our podcast, Dan.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. It's been really nice.
In fact, can someone just... All you have to do to change me into Dan is just remove the glasses and turn the hair ginger. So I think we should just change the Wikicast logo for this episode.
For this one episode.
Yeah. Because in terms of hairstyles, the hair shape is pretty similar.
Yeah, pretty spot
I think
on.
I can do that. Okay, right. Well, you go off, Dan, and Sally and I will say thank you to our lovely Patreons.
Yes. It was lovely to see you.
Bye.
It's a podcast.
Bye.
I haven't seen you.
I can see you I saw you on the webcam for a little bit.
All right, you little pernickety bit.
Yeah, little
pernickety right.
bit.
I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Oh, thank he's gone. Okay,
God.
So
Could you hear those voices, or was that just in my head?
Every now and again, I get this really annoying high-pitched whine. It's kind of Australian in my ears. I learned to
mine's
ignore
more formal British.
Well, is yours a lower-pitched whine?
Mine's more of a kind of oh yeah, I'm here and I've got this Wild West thing that I think everyone needs to watch.
Is that David Attenborough recommending series on Netflix?
It does sound like that, doesn't it?
Well, as Dan was saying, thank you very much to our supporters on Patreon. He does really actually appreciate it, even if, he's not around to say it. Normally, we would like to do a stage play. Sally, are you fond of amateur dramatics at all?
I love amateur dramatics. This is the bit that I usually skip, to be perfectly honest with you.
Okay, so what can we do as a skeptic listener who hates Critics Corner, but still talked about what she liked for half an hour, and, it doesn't like Patreon Corner? What can we do to make this interesting?
Do it quickly as a speed rap. I think it's the speed thing. And also, I'm not keen on the concept of lads either. No matter how much people say that it's a good lad and trying to change the concept, it's not. It's still lad. But I see that you have done it, so I won't ask you to change that. But yeah,
I do think it's a reasonable viewpoint to have. I do completely understand where you're coming from. Because
I am all for the Team Dog versus Team Cat, because I am very firmly Team Dog. And that is the opposite to Simon, which means I'm more happy about that. And I haven't checked, but I think, am I right in saying that Team Dog is currently winning?
You know what? This is a perfect opportunity to check the ongoing dispute.
This is my favourite bit of the Patreon corner.
So, at the current stage, at the time of recording, Team Cat have 26 patrons. Team Dog have 27 patrons.
Yes! Oh! Victory!
Suck a dick, Team Cat, to quote Dan. I mean, this is shameful. I mean, do you honestly look at the two of us? It's a podcast, so you can't listen to the two of us, of Sally and I. And which of the two of us would you rather put your support in? Team Dog, Sally? She rickrolled me this morning. Would you trust this woman with $1 a month?
I mean, would you trust someone who still doesn't know what the Rickroll URL looks like and is still capable of being Rickrolled?
It was half a URL. It was a fake thumbnail and it was half a URL. It was cut off.
So, would you prefer someone who is capable of tricking a PhD in
astrometric physics, are you going to say? Well, no, I'm not the one with a PhD in astrometric physics.
I'm so used to my friends being astrophysicists that to say atmospheric physics. So, would you rather someone who is capable of deceiving an atmospheric physics PhD owner, or would you rather go with the person who falls for it?
Or would you rather trust the person who actually has a PhD?
Oh, that's very
oh! You'll get there one day, Sally.
It hurts so much. It's like I've been stabbed. Oh, the pain.
I make that joke to you so frequently, I bet it hurts. So, you know, it's like, of the two of us, which one of you are you really going to support with just $1 a month to keep this podcast going? So, Team Cat, come on, just get behind it.
Just think
of
the Cavalier King Charles Spaniels, and think of their beautiful eyes and their soft floppy ears, and how they want nothing better than to just stick their little head on top of your lap as you're watching telly, and just snuggle up next to you, and just be close and touching each other, just so that you have that connection.
And blindly give affection despite the fact that you probably haven't earned it.
Or would you like a cat that friggin' buggers off unless you're holding food?
Or if the cat actually likes you, because their affection means something, damn it. This is a debate that has long been simmering under the surface in the podcast, but gosh darn it, it's just not good enough that Team Cat are behind. Yes, we need to turn this around, Team Cat.
Speed rap, yeah.
I could give this a go. It won't be a speed rap. It's going to be a bit more Dan-like than that. So these are our 30 patrons, our top lads, the people who.
In fact, do you want to time how quickly you can say them?
Well, I'm not going for speed so much as style with this one.
Oh, okay.
We'll see what I mean. And there's the last name is going to be a particularly difficult one. But these are the people who are donating $5 a month to keep the podcast going. We really appreciate it, and they are. There's Richard Funkin, Henry Brewster, Lewis Watson, Eric Davis, Billy Tilson, Elliot Conway, Ben That was actually going quite well.
It was.
Ben
it was
McMurtry,
really good.
Davis
Carry
Cahill, The Moustache Man, Habiba. Oh, I'm sorry, Habiba. Habiba, Amjad, Dan Havi, Connor Levers, Lachlan Woods, and John Mannion. Nicholas, Luke Thatcher, Simon Torseth, Alex Greer, Geordie Eschendahl, Oz Caulfield, Mac Maguire, Emma Kavanagh, Jack Wright Angela, and also Kieran Kelly and Wonderful Stephen. There's Tapioca and Davi Shramvontabo, Simon Vason, Azagu Nagapansa. The last name.
So good. Keep going.
It was the last name, and Azugu Nagapan Nagasaravanan. Saravanan. That's as close as you're going to get to Gilbert and Sullivan. That's probably the closest you're going to get to actual music this episode.
I think that was my favourite Patreon corner.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad somebody liked it. As I say, it's Gilbert and Sullivan, so it's not real music, but that's the closest you're going to get to it this episode. Of course, the real music this episode comes from Tapio, who does our jingles. Top lad! Right, so I will... I'll get into... Oh, bloody hell. Sorry, that's my water. All right, okay, so let's get to Crisis Corner.
Bloody hell, Harry.
Bloody hell, Harry. I'm not a wizard at all. For some reason, I'm one of the Beatles. Okay. So we're at Critics Corner. Sorry, no, we're not in Crisis Corner. I am in Crisis. And you know who else is in Crisis? Is our dear reader, Anonymous. Now, this is your favourite corner of the podcast, isn't it?
This is I do love Crisis Corner. I wish the podcast was like 10% other chat and 90% Crisis Corner.
Well, if you, dear reader, listening to this, have a crisis and you'd like to realise Sally's dream, do send us an email at spongyelectric@gmail.com with the Crisis Corner in the subject line.
Particularly if it's something that neither Dan nor Simon have any experience of. That's always fun to listen to.
Yeah, like if you ask us about our experience as being single working mums, for example, I have no doubt that we will give great advice on that topic. But the topic today is something a little bit more relevant to the two of us, actually. So Anonymous writes, Dear Simon and Dan, I'm a first-year aerospace engineering student. I'm really enjoying the course, but struggling with the difficulty. I know I can handle the difficulty if I put in the work. I had some good test results earlier this year, but I'm struggling to get myself to actually do the work. I tend to get distracted quickly, and I have some trouble concentrating for long periods of time. I'm really scared of failing courses as they have pretty significant consequences of being able to continue my studies. Failing too many means you get thrown out. She's put in brackets. I know that I have to study a lot. I just keep procrastinating, which is driving me crazy. I started tracking my time recently and only spent 40 hours on my studies in the past 2 weeks combined, including lectures. I'm sure you can imagine that isn't doing great things to my mental health well-being either. I'd love to hear your advice, especially in terms of meeting high bars. Love the podcast. Thank you for all the work you do. Team Dog.
Yay!
Well, thank you, Anonymous, for putting a little sting in the tail there. We both went to a very intense university that requires a lot of work.
You are still at university that requires a lot of work. Oh my god, I feel like we are chalk and cheese when it comes to this topic because you very much put in the hours and I very much don't. And I
feel like I don't so much at the moment.
No, but during your PhD, I mean, to be honest, you've earned the slack time. I am always asking you how I should get working because I don't. Firstly, I'm going to say this. 20 hours a week as an undergraduate really isn't that bad. Because if you think full-time is 40 hours a week, I don't think you should need to work full-time during your undergraduate degree. So I think the first step is to stop beating yourself up about the lack of work you've done because you can't change that. It's in the past.
Yeah, and I think also there's two kind of forks to go down there. One of which is it's a very dangerous thing to view a lack of work as you can view it as helpless. It's like, well, I barely worked last week, so like I now have twice as much work to do this week. So there's no point. Like it's a cumulative thing that builds up. And I feel like a lot of that is to do with your mental attitude. It's like, as Sally says, don't get too hung up on the stuff in the past. You can't change it. Mm-hmm. You can change what you're doing in the future. I think. And also,
I think don't expect yourself to change overnight. So, like when I'm going through down periods, like for example, if my depression flares up, I will have periods where I just can't mentally face working. If I've had a week of that, the next week I'm not going to do a 40-hour week. Because it's going from nothing to 100 all in one go. Whereas I might go in and say, you know what, if I can get 2 hours work done today, that's 2 hours more than I got done yesterday. And it's really just, it's much better that you say, hey, I did get 2 hours done, rather than thinking 2 hours isn't worth anything, so I won't bother.
I mean, it's I don't think I've actually talked about this properly before, because the other fork I wanted, which is related to what you were just saying, the other fork I wanted to go down is that it's very, very dangerous to almost build your self-worth, which is reading your email. Anonymous sort of seems to be saying that it's not good enough. I'm not good enough because I'm not working enough, because I'm procrastinating. That's a very, very dangerous thing to go down, because that was the path that I went way, way too deep down in my fourth year at Oxford. But when I was at a very, very low point in my fourth year, and I'd basically had a breakdown, I was self-harming not because I wanted to feel something, but I self-harmed because I hated myself so much, because I wasn't working hard enough and I wasn't doing well enough. And I feel like if you kind of have this attitude of like, I'm not working enough, I need to keep working more, and even if you do 40 hours a week, you'll still think, yeah, but what if I did 50 or 60 hours a week, and you keep pushing it. It's a very, very dangerous thing, because you will almost certainly never be good enough, and you don't want to fall down the trap of hating yourself because you're not, in your eyes, doing enough. So it's you know, your attitude towards the work is possibly the more important thing to change here, rather than necessarily your studying habits. I think it'd be fair to say.
Did the reader also write that they think they can do it, they just aren't doing it?
So I know I can handle the difficulty if I put in the work. They've had some good test results. They are just struggling to get themselves to do the work. So they're struggling with distractions and keep procrastinating, basically.
I mean, it's tough because unless you're at somewhere like Oxford or Cambridge where you have weekly tutorials, so you have an external deadline put on you at very short intervals, so there's no option, you have to get the work done every week. Other universities, you tend to have like termly or half termly deadlines, and so it's much easier to put things off for later. Potentially something that worked well for a lot of my friends during their exams at undergraduate was working together. So they'd all go to the cafe at like 9 a.m, have a coffee in the cafe, and then work there. This is a college cafe, so they're really big desks, and they'd all work together, and then they could have a break and chat about stuff that wasn't work. I mean, for me, that sounded like hell, and I avoided them all because studying with other people is not me. I cannot stand doing that. But it worked really well for them. And that way, it's like when you have a gym buddy and you're like, well, I can't not go to the gym at 9 a.m. because the other person will be there waiting for me. If you got someone else that you're letting down, then that might help you actually get things done.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't work with people once, I don't think, during my entire undergraduate. I'm a very... I'm an only child, and I don't get along with people very well. So like I I know, right? The physics degree wasn't a giveaway at all. But like I really regret not working with a group of other people. And to be fair, like in Oxbridge, that was because I didn't necessarily gel that well with the people from my college. But there's a whole university out there. You don't have to work even with people on your course necessarily. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I feel like in terms of sort of practical advice, have you ever used the tomato timer, the Pomodoro technique?
Yes, but not with much success.
Right. I mean, why do you think it didn't work for you?
I don't know. I think partly it's getting into it. And then so for example, if I'm writing, once I'm getting into it, the concept of stopping every 25 minutes breaks up the flow and just doesn't make any sense. And also I really struggle getting back to work after the 5 minutes off. I think one thing, there's a German saying apparently that my German friend told me, which it translates to appetite comes with eating. Which is like, you might think you're not hungry, but once you start eating, you realize how hungry you were. And I find that with writing is that it's just like bringing yourself to write can be the most painful and difficult barrier to get over. But once you're actually in the swing of things, it's not hard to continue. It's very much like an object in motion stays in motion sort of thing. It's that very first step. And so for me, the Pomodoro technique is having to make that first step every half an hour.
That's fair. I mean, I feel like it's one of these things that I think depends on what you're doing as well. I think if you're writing, you are in it for an hour and a half, and then you wake up and you're like, oh my God, what year is it? Whereas for something like coding, for example, you do have that to a certain extent, and stuff like, solving problems in maths. But I found the tomato timer technique really useful for certain things. I do agree with you that like for writing it wasn't as useful.
Like if I'm weighing flies, I will weigh flies 10 vials at a time, which takes me about half an hour to an hour, and then take a break, and then do another 10, take a break, so in that sense, although that is very monotonous, which is good in a way because you can completely switch your brain off, but also it is really quite dull, so you do have to literally just put in the hours.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of the time you get like study advice, right? And it's kind of blanket. It's like, if you need to work in an abstract way, do this. And exactly as you say, like it does very much depend on what it is you're doing. And
both of us have made study advice videos with exactly those kind of blanket statements.
Yes, we're not helping. I mean, the best advice I think on YouTube comes from Tom Frank, College Info Geek. is a really, really great guy, and he does like, his channel's big enough that he can do specific things on like, this is how to do this thing, the techniques that work for in this scenario. So I'd recommend him as like kind of practical advice. I mean, the Anonymous says that they are an aerospace engineering student, so that's pretty similar to physics. So I'd recommend, I'd give the Pomodoro technique a try.
I think as well, talk to your friends, see what solutions they've got. Talk to people in the year above, if there are any, to see how they managed to get through it. And if you have a personal relationship with one of the professors or tutors on your course, maybe chat to them about it. I don't know what your university structure is. You might have been assigned a particular lecturer that looks after you, or maybe there's one on a topic that you particularly enjoy or maybe having particular trouble with. And just ask them, say, I'm having real problems, this is where I'm at. Because maybe they'll say, yeah, you're working fine. And maybe, because it's difficult because it's hard to tell from your email whether you are correct in thinking that you're not working hard enough, or whether you're incorrect and you are misjudging the amount of work required. And so having an external perspective might be able to help with that.
Yeah, definitely. There's the practical level to this question, and then there's also like the step back of saying, let's just, let's look at how you're thinking about work, because we're PhDs at the end of the day. We have attained a pretty high level, and so we have had to do a lot of work to do that. But so take our advice on studying with a pinch of salt, because we're probably going to be a bit more intense. Like, yeah, let's fix this problem. I feel like we both we have that duty to say, let's just take a step back a second and be realistic.
Value
here. How
sleep.
are you thinking about work?
If you stress yourself out for long periods of time, you will get ill. And if you get ill, you cannot do work efficiently. And so it is much more efficient to actually get sleep, look after your health, eat vegetables, go outside and see your friends, and do so in a way that you don't feel ashamed of it. So plan it into your time. Simon was particularly bad at this during his PhD.
I was waiting for that.
So because of course we've been messaging each other throughout our PhDs, because it's very nice actually to have someone else. Shh, Simon, don't listen to this bit. I'm going to be nice about you.
All right, and clamping
just
my
stick
ears.
your fingers in your ears. So it's really nice to have someone else in the position not only of doing a science PhD, having come from a very academically intense background, but also one who's then doing a side career of YouTube, which has its own specific stresses. And so the two of us are often chatting about PhD stresses, and a lot of the time, Simon's solution would be to work through the night. My solution would be to not work at all. And so we very much took opposite approaches.
We're like devil and angel on the shoulder here.
Yeah, and so neither of them are particularly good. Simon would burn out every 2 months, get horrendously sick and not be able to work and feel like shit. I would just beat myself up, rather like the person in the email, for not working, and then that would put me into a negative spiral where I was less able to do higher complex tasks like statistics or writing. And so then I basically just like, oh, well, I'm going to do this lower level stuff. Like lab work is, for me, really practical and easy. So I'm like, well, this is something I can do and make progress, and then from there build it up. So try and take a middle road, but neither of us, I think, have actually, although we are doing PhDs, I don't think either of us have actually found a suitable solution to this problem.
This shit's hard, like studying
really
is not easy.
It
be kind to yourself if you are struggling. Like, it's fine to struggle. I think if anybody could come into your course and just like waltz through and find the work easy, the course wouldn't be worth very much, really.
But there will be some people that do that, and do not compare yourself against them.
But also, even in that case, because I had this conversation with my tutor actually about people like that, and he was saying, I can guarantee you that anybody that comes in and just seems to do stuff effortlessly, they are working hard. Like, they might sort of play themselves down, or they might not think that it's very much work, but they will be working hard. There are very, very, very few people in the world that can swan into a degree, like a physics degree, and just
that is true, but those very, very few people will tend to go to the universities like Oxford and Cambridge.
This is true. This is very true. But as Sally says, don't compare yourself to those people, and also just realize that this is difficult, what you're trying to do. So it's okay to struggle, It's like how you deal with that and how you approach the work that's the important thing. So I feel like, is there anything else you'd like to add there, Sally?
This is too close to my actual problems right now. Can we change to a different question?
Okay. Okay, well, Anonymous, I hope that was useful to you. Again, if you are listening to this and you have a crisis that you'd like, it will be me and the other Dan, not the female Dan, who will be talking about it and trying to offer some advice. Then do send that to spongyelectric@gmail.com with Crisis Corner in the subject line, and we will get back to you in a future episode. And now we find ourselves in Correspondence Corner. So Sally just complained off camera, because there aren't any cameras, so the whole thing's off camera, that there weren't enough emails in Crisis Corner.
Yeah,
well,
I want there to be more than one crisis a week. I want the
sick
world
bastard.
to be more full of crises. And no, I like the crises, and I like having different things to talk about. Basically,
Yeah,
I want to turn
I
this
love it.
podcast into an advice podcast, which it isn't.
It's not Dear Hank and John, it's Dear Simon
it's
and Dan.
not Dear Hank and John. But I think you should send in more crises, however big, however small, so that
You
there
hear
can
that,
be
listeners?
more than one.
Send us in. So for the meantime, we do have a few emails, and we also have a fan fiction, which I'm rather excited about based on last week. I also shout out to my friend David, who listens to the podcast, who said he might write a Warhammer themed fan fiction.
Oh,
David, for the
God.
love of God, send that to me.
Oh no, I made the very fatal mistake of, very fatal as opposed to slightly fatal, mistake of asking Simon about Warhammer. I am
sent you a
neither
brief
any
synopsis.
more informed than I was before, but also I had to sit through Simon talking about Warhammer for ages.
It was. I was curious the other day, so I looked it up. One of the key figures, certainly for. Yeah, well, I think you could probably say the most important figure in 40k is the God Emperor of Mankind. I looked up his fan wiki. His Wikipedia article is 16,000 words long.
Now you see, readers, what Simon's trying to do here is to move the conversation back onto Warhammer, but we're not going to allow that.
One day I will just randomize, and it won't be a real Wikipedia article. It'll be a Warhammer fan Wikipedia that I'll randomize onto,
But
and
that
see how long
day
it takes
is
for Dan to
not
notice.
today, and not whilst I am on the pod.
No, this day where it's going to take our first email from Jack Hall with subject line all caps extremely important. He's basically just emailed to complain at me saying,
Ooh.
"Hi you two," which is actually works for Sally
Yeah.
and I. I'm emailing because I was watching Simon's latest vlog. Good
It'd
man.
be me and Sally, or Sally and me.
Yeah. Yes.
Dan's not here. I had to fill you in. I don't think
Yeah.
you've said worry yet, but you do pronounce worry wrong.
It's worrying.
It's not worrying. It's not like a quarry.
Not
It's
you two.
worrying. Like
my favourite
slurry.
band.
It's like slurry, not quarry.
Look, if this is not, if the word comes up, we can have this debate.
Yeah.
For the time being, the Jack is basically complaining, saying that he can't stand Windows. Simon, I love your work, man, but I
What's
highly
wrong with
recommend
Windows?
switching to
How
Mac.
else are you going to let the light come in?
Sorry, I only had a plastic thing to hand. Well done.
Do you know that glass was actually really quite revolutionary? And that I think it was the invention of glass around the kind of Middle Ages time is what gave Europe a sudden boost in scientific productivity. When
glass was invented
by
it was invented by the Phoenicians in like about 1000 BC, I thought, like first millennium BC.
Sorry, when I say invented, I mean kind of like the skills that go alongside glass blowing and being able to make delicate instruments with glass, which was happening at the time of the Enlightenment. And that was when there was kind of a jump in Western scientific progress that wasn't matched in Eastern scientific progress, which up to that point had, if anything, been better than Western.
Considerably, yeah.
Partly because like beakers and flasks and literally just the equipment you can make with glass that you can't easily make from other materials that are natural because it's such an inert and colourless substance. Sorry, I don't know why we're Windows. So yeah, Windows are really cool, and they used to make windows out of soaked papyrus. So you'd have paper as a window to let light in rather than glass.
That is interesting. So this is why we brought you on the pod.
It's not true that glass
is a fluid.
Is a fluid and that it's thicker at the bottom than at the top. It's just that if there were impurities in the glass making process, the people building the windows would deliberately put the thicker bit at the bottom because it was more sturdy.
And also, I think it was something to do with how it's set. Like it was like whilst. It's not like the argument was, I think, that it was completely planar when it was put in, and then it gradually seeped to the bottom. Whereas I think actually it's more that when you cast it, there would be an angle on it, and so naturally the slightly liquid material, whilst it cools, will pull to one side.
Yes,
I believe. But
and
yes,
so they put it in uneven rather than it becomes uneven over time.
So Sally loves glass, but you know who? Sorry, Sally loves Windows, but you know who doesn't? It's Jack Hall, because he wants me to switch to Mac.
No, I am 100% Mac free. I don't even own an iPod.
I don't own a single
bit anymore, but
oh god, I'm so glad Dan isn't here. Actually, he'd be ripping into me. But yeah, I really like working on Windows. Like, I mean, admittedly, I had that problem in the vlog. I had to do updates, but like, to be fair, I pushed my PC to the limit. It's getting a little bit old. My computer. I
was able to upgrade my computer a few weeks ago by actually opening up the computer and physically adding more memory and more processing power, and that's not something you can do on a Mac.
No, you can't. It's a completely closed system, isn't it?
So I added 10 terabytes more actual memory and over doubled the processing power for a fraction of what a new computer would have cost.
Yeah. Oh, that's probably what I'll do with mine. I'll probably just add a bunch of new stuff to it. Like that's one of the reasons why I prefer Windows. Like, I don't like the idea that with Macs it's just a closed box, and it's like, just don't look at the man behind the curtain kind of thing. Like,
and for now, I will say, particularly when it comes to phones, Apple is making some of the best phones of a comparable price to the competitors. However, in the past, Apple products have been so much more expensive for what you get, and once you're in the Apple ecosystem, you're kind of
that's the thing. It's the ecosystem. Yeah. So it's the risk of. So at the moment, you're getting an efficient, high quality product, but in the future, you'll still be getting a high quality product, but it might cost far more than the equivalent would that wasn't Apple. Yeah, I mean, I get that iPhones are good, but because of the ecosystem point, the fact that I use Google for so much of what I do, and I know that you can get it on iPhones. I like the way that Android works. I like the fact how it integrates with Google stuff, and it's cheaper. It's like, obviously, like the top end isn't, but like, yeah. I was going to say a flagship Samsung phone is just as expensive. Yeah, I mean, but there are more options. I think when I upgrade, I'll probably go for a Pixel 2. Partly because I do actually. Yes, for Pixel girlfriend and a Pixel phone. God, that's gonna be meta when I do like video calling. But like, I do use the camera quite a lot on my phone because sometimes I will vlog using it, and the only reason I don't do it more is because the camera on my Sony isn't the best. Yeah. So yeah. I am not moving to Apple. I'm sticking to my Windows guns. So I appreciate the advice, Jack, but I'm sticking to Windows. How's your Welsh, Sally? Do you know any Welsh? Well, we've now got a cottage in Wales, so I can read Welsh road signs, but I don't know actually how you pronounce them. So I can tell you how to write services in Welsh. So I've just sent you this message on the old Facky book. We've been sent a message by Anthony Jones, who writes, "Hoay, Monsieur Clawmark." I like it. I'm writing this while being 30,000 feet over the country of France. After a week's holidaying in Toulouse. You win some, Toulouse some. Highly recommend it due to the beautiful cathedrals. Being both Welsh and a rugby player, I feel I am not really your target clientele. What do you mean? But I came across an expanse of media due to living in Oxford and have loved it for the past few years. Oh, wonder where he lived. Anyway, he continues, however, your dislike of the Welsh language is a slight bone of contention, so I thought I'd include some passages for you to utterly mangle whilst trying to highlight the beauty of it. So have you got the message open in front of you, Sally? I've got it open in front of me. Do you want to have a go at these words? So if you do it first, I'll follow. So this is the thing, is that
I love Wales. It's my favourite place in the UK. And whenever you're driving, the signs are bilingual. So they have it in English and Welsh. So I see a lot of Welsh. And I have a little Welsh book which tells you how to pronounce it. But you do have to know the rules. So I am almost certainly going to break this. So W's are oo sounds if they're in the middle. So owl, which is written HWDIHW, I'm going to guess is hoody hoo. Or something like that.
I was going to say something. Or hwidi hoo. Or something. Because, like, was that hwidi hoo, maybe?
Well, that's there's like the W won't be a W. It will be an Like, Betterzicoid is with a W. And that's
I thought that was Betsy Coward. Oh, okay.
So it's hoodie hoo. But if it's copying the sound in owl mate, which is woo-hoo. No, that's a pigeon. So the female owl goes hoi, and the male owl goes hoo. So it's two different owls that make the twit-twoo.
I didn't know that.
There you go.
Okay. And then the next one's rabbit hutch.
Yes. So you probably know the first word. CWTCH.
Is that kuch?
So yeah, like kuch means cuddle.
So
yeah, it's really sweet. So I'm guessing it's kuch Cunnigan.
Because the second word there is spelled CWNINGEN.
Yeah.
Kuch Cunnigan.
I'm guessing.
Something like that. I really like this next one. Should we try and pronounce this and then try and give the translation?
Yeah.
This has got too many vowels, I'd like to point out.
It has. I have no idea. I'm going to guess Hirieth.
Yeah, Hirieth. Hirieth, I'm going to go with. That's HIRIAETH.
Mm-hmm.
And Anthony says, this has got no direct English translation because it's a feeling. It's the emotion of contentment at being at home or the desire to return home. Hirieth. I like that. And then next is microwave, which there was that viral...
Pop-de-ping. It's not microdon, it's pop-de-ping.
Yeah, I'd heard pop-de-ping, but I mean, Anthony is the Welsh one of the three of us. So...
Well, no, there are different words for it, but a lot of Welsh people I know do call it pop-de-ping. Because pop-de is, I think, oven.
Oh, it's pop-de is oven? Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Pop-de-ping. Because it goes ping. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And then... what's the rule on double Ds, apart from the fact that they're
double
great?
Ds are v or ss.
I'm sorry, what?
So it's kind of a THFV sort of sound.
THFV? That isn't a thing.
Well, no, all of those sounds. So th, or v. It's kind of that sort of at the front of the mouth, in the lips sort of sound.
So double Ds in the lips.
So that would be something like Eistervod.
Eistervod. I gotta go with that as well. But apparently that's a festival of the best Welsh language poets, singers, musicians, dancers, and artists. Do you think if you can pronounce the name of the event is like a shibboleth that you can get in if you can actually pronounce it? Add to this the fact that it's presided over by a synod of druids, making it a pretty bitching festival of about 200,000 visitors a year. I'd never heard of that.
My favourite Welsh words, which I don't know how to pronounce because I only see them on road signs. Let's see if you can guess what they are. So this is the English pronunciation of a Welsh word, and you had to guess what the translation is. So there's Gwasanathau.
Gwasanathau?
Yeah.
Go south. I don't know.
Services.
Oh, nice. I know Araf Hedlu is slow police. I know that one.
Yes, it is. Araf is slow. Arafitchnauer is reduced speed now. Perigal.
I thought that was a Greek hero.
That is danger.
Oh.
There's Saffleboos.
Saffleboos. Is that a minibus?
Bus stop.
Bus stop. Oh, nearly.
The easy one, Castell.
Castle.
Yeah. You've done Headley. Was it Iglesia?
A church?
Yeah. Ysgol. YSGOL. Yeah, school. For 4 dual 5 miltier.
I have no clue whatsoever.
Dual carriageway in 5 miles.
Oh, right. Is that near your house by any chance? There's
no,
a big sign that
it's
says
just
that.
you see these everywhere. So for Ford with 2 Fs is road, and you have Miltia and Llath miles and yards. Because these are the things that you pick up when you're in a car. You don't learn any actual useful Welsh. You learn the signs to the services.
Well, you know, if it helps you in life, then it's a useful language skill, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But thank you very much, Anthony, for sending that in.
You didn't mention that Anthony is also a dog person.
I was about to get to that. I was literally about to say
Springer Spaniels, and Spaniels are my favourite type of dog, specifically King Charles Spaniels, but Springer Spaniels are just as adorable.
And they're called Dylan and Bob.
No.
I like that. That's good.
Good
and also,
doggy.
He concludes by saying, good day to you both, and keep up the fantastic work. Anthony Jones, age 20.38D4.
Jones.
It's like
Tony Jones.
It's like Will Williams or Williamson or something like that. David Davidson is the ultimate Welsh name.
David Davidson.
There was actually an organist at Exeter called David Davis. Who unfortunately now shares the name with the Brexit secretary, which is awkward. But yeah, so I think he was a classic sort of Welsh name. But basically, Anthony signed off in hexadecimal 20.34D4 FDF3B6 45A1CAC083. That seems like that's too accurate, Anthony. I don't think that's going to be accurate at the time of recording. So add a little bit onto that, I think. But oh, thank you for saying that the Wikicast is in your top 3 podcasts, along with Hello Internet and 99% Invisible.
I thought you didn't like decimal ages.
No, that's hexadecimal. That's
but it's also written as point something.
A decimal.
It's not fractional.
It's the more tolerable form of decimal heresy. I will allow that to exist on the fringes if people want to convert their ages to hex. But that's vaguely acceptable. Also, Anthony, that's a great... I just read your postscript. He says, aside from the podcast, I'm 2 degrees of separation from Simon, as I once did a pirate murder mystery on Aberystwyth Beach with Hannah Wakeford, who I did the top female scientist top trumps cards with. So that's quite a fun fact. Then lastly, of our sort of regular correspondence, we have a great name correspondence here. Oliver von Hufstein has sent an email. Greetings, dear Messrs. Clark and Moore, and the page. I'll just added that bit. Greetings from the United States. I recently discovered Simon's YouTube channel and the podcast and have been enjoying them very much. I'm a PhD student in music theory, so I'm sure you can imagine how much I look forward to your discussions of music. And your studies, among other topics. I have been slowly working my way through the Wikicast episodes in reverse chronological order. It was a while ago now, but in episode 21, you had a conversation wondering about the overlap between romanticism in literature and in music. So I thought this was interesting to you, Sally, because I know you do like romantic
I love romantic music. I don't know much romantic literature.
Oh, well, I think we're about to have some knowledge laid on us because Oliver wants to offer his perspective as a scholar of music. It's not uncommon for music to show signs of stylistic change a little bit later than literature and visual arts. So, for example,
I've noticed this.
While romanticism in literature, art and music share many of the same aesthetics and ideas, we don't see those ideas reflected in music until a little later. This happens with other style periods as well, perhaps a reflection of the relative conservatism of music as a discipline, though I can't claim enough to know about literature or visual art to make that statement without reservations. That's really interesting, that perhaps just as an art form, music is slower to change.
I have noticed this, because when you think of, say, Tudor Elizabethan paintings, and then going onwards, they've already got that. It was, who was it that did the skull with a weird perspective?
Holbein. Hans Holbein.
It was Holbein. And you're thinking of that as quite what I would see as advanced art. I am terrible. I think that old art
Are you
is
about to say that
art.
Tudor music isn't terribly advanced?
Well, when you think of Tudor music, you think of it as a lot older. Like when you think of Greensleeves, you think.
Oh, but that's an example of simple Tudor music.
But it's a lot what we would see as older, whereas I don't know, even Pride and Prejudice, you're still looking at late classical, whereas so kind of like the big literature stuff is late 1700s, early 1800s, where I would say the best music. This is coming very biased.
That's a subjective thing, yeah.
I know it's completely subjective, and I am a clarinet player, so my genre only starts after Mozart. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that when I think of art and then I think of the music being played at the same time that was written, in my head it seems to be that the music feels earlier than the artwork was, or that the writing was.
This is interesting, actually. I was literally having a pub chat with a guy last night, a friend of mine who is a French horn player in various London orchestras. And we were talking about how, at the moment, it feels like there's kind of a golden age of choral music specifically. And yet that doesn't necessarily extend to anything really more than maybe chamber music. Like orchestral music as a whole, generally at the moment, isn't doing as much in its field as choral music is at the moment.
Unless you include film music.
Yeah, that of course is the notable exception. But that's the point, right? Is that the people that fund new compositions are institutions, certainly at the moment, like Oxford and Cambridge colleges, that have choirs. And so the people that get funding to actually write new stuff at the moment are small forces, and that normally seems to mean choirs. But
I think it's completely nonsense to separate out film and TV and video game music from proper music, because that's what I wanted to say. Hugely funded.
That's what I wanted to say, was that like it basically previously I feel like perhaps that is a pattern that has existed before, that music which is written for small forces, and that normally does mean choral music, probably catches up quicker to changes in style than orchestral music, because there are more commissions available. Whereas now that visual media is such a thing, and that involves sort of film scores to go with it, and TV scores, perhaps that's now going to change, and film scores are going to change maybe even quicker, because you get more scores commissioned than you do choral pieces these days. Whereas back in the Tudor period, new church music was being written pretty much every single day, but I don't think that was the case necessarily for, I know obviously things like the symphony didn't even exist then, but like the larger ensembles weren't going to be getting so many commissions, if that makes sense.
Well, they take longer as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, like it depends. Like for choral stuff, you can write stuff like, I don't know, the Pope Marcellus Mass. I don't even know how long that took Palestrina to write. Probably like 2 years. That's still for small forces, but like that's different from just dashing out like a motet. It's just kind of interesting to like kind of the sociological aspects of seeing how music has changed over the years, and like by genre. It was just, I don't know, it was an interesting conversation I had last night. I just thought it was kind of cool that it was relevant to this.
I do like comparing different things on the same time scales. It's like the thing that goes around the internet every 6 months or so, that Cleopatra is closer to the moon landing than she was to the building of the Great Pyramids.
Yeah.
And it's just those things where you know about all of these things individually, but when you realise how recent they are to each other. So, for example, the Aztecs are far more modern than most people think.
They're more modern than Oxford University.
Well, that's not that difficult. You've got 1,000 years of Oxford University.
All right, brag about it.
But yeah, it's just, there are some things where for some reason they feel like they belong in a different time.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm glad I read that one out. That was a very interesting email, Oliver. If you do fancy sending us in more musical insights, because for one thing, I want to know about your thesis. If you're a PhD student in music theory, that sounds fascinating. But yeah, he concludes, keep up the great work on the podcast. I very much look forward to future episodes. Best wishes, age Oliver, 21 and 11 104ths. Thank you. That's how you write an age. Although, P.S., while I would ideally vote for Team Goldfish, I'm afraid I must place my vote for Team Cat, if only given the choice between cats and dogs.
Wait, I don't understand how a goldfish lover can like cats.
Well, my dad, actually, that's true. My dad hates cats, and he loves his fish. I don't know. Different strokes for different folks. Nothing wrong with that.
Also, I'm trying to think what fraction can be expressed over 104 that is also out of 365.
Well, it might be that they've accounted for leap years.
Oh, that's not allowed.
It's not allowed. Absolutely not. But speaking of things that are absolutely not allowed, I have a happy little fan fiction here.
Do you? Because these kind of went out of favour in the podcast, didn't they?
Yeah, after the sex incident. Yes, but this has been sent in by the Moustache Man, which is Cameron, who I met at the University of Bristol when I gave a talk. He writes, "Dear Morlark."
Oh, there's a load of birds outside my window.
Oh, isn't that nice?
There's like a flock of 20 of them has just flown past.
It's nice to know I have your full attention, Sally.
I do. Sorry, I know it was the Moustache Man that asked if I could come on the podcast.
Oh, yes, so you got your way, Cameron.
And Dan's forehead and Simon's beard. It was the three disembodied, facial parts.
The Mr. Potato Head of
and
Wikicast. Much
as I like the Moustache Man, I do hate your moustache. Just so that is out there.
Why? It's a great moustache.
I also hate your beard.
Oh, that's fair.
But I like Dan's forehead.
Jolly good. Hang on, is this based on the actual appearance of the moustache, or is this based on the Discord?
No. This is your moustache that I have seen on your face. I do not like.
No, but you know why the Moustache Man is, like, he has an amazing moustache.
Oh, what? That's his moustache?
That is his moustache. Can
I also say how both of us are saying moustache differently but not changing to match the other?
Absolutely not. Anyway.
So that is his moustache put onto your face?
Yes. It's an amazing moustache.
I just find moustaches really off-putting, and like it's drawing attention to the moustache, and then you just see these lips. It's like watching people talk when they have a beard. It's really horrible because you can just kind of see the lips moving, but all within this hairy monster. And it's
somebody
just really,
isolate that audio, please.
And it makes them look like really pink and weird. And often, if I don't know why, but I've noticed a correlation between beards and chapped lips. And so, yeah, it just draws attention to the lack of lip maintenance.
Are you feeling all right, Sally? That is the most unhinged rant I think I've ever heard you go on. It's like, beard havers, like, what is with your lips? Like...
I don't like beards. You got to admit, though, beards do draw attention to lips.
I guess. Yes, they do. It's not something I thought terribly much, nowhere near as much as you have about, it appear. Anyway, the Moustache Man has emailed him. I'm appreciative of your moustache. Dear Morlark, I thoroughly enjoyed your reading of the fanfiction last week, especially the sound effects. Good, that was a lot of work. I was impressed that you essentially predicted where the story was going, even if you didn't realise it. A few adaptations later, and I present Chapter 2. Doesn't contain as much action, but I guess it's important to also set up some kind of story.
Nah.
Simon, it was nice to meet you on Thursday, and I can confirm you have no sense of ego around your fans whatsoever. Suck a dick, Sally. I look forward
Literally,
to
at the
seeing
start
you
of this podcast, before we started recording, I did chastise Simon for going off on a 40-minute rant about, oh my god, how amazing am I, and how amazing am I when I talk to my fans.
I did not
oh my
do
god,
that.
my fans are so amazing, and my audience, but mostly it's my relationship with my audience is so down to earth, and like these other YouTube celebrities, like it's so great, you know, how I am just able to talk to them like they're people. Like I think that makes me a really great person, and that just made me laugh so much.
The emphasis was very much more on how great the fans were, not me. I'd like to emphasise that.
You go back and listen to it, Simon.
Oh, I never listen back to the podcast. That's a terrible idea. But yes, suck a dick, Sally. I apparently have no sense of ego around my fans.
I'd rather not, thanks, Simon.
Well, you know, different strokes for different folks. I look forward to seeing you soon. And as for Dan, hopefully I get to see you on Friday. Oh, because he met up at the Dodie event. Dodie, if you fancy being on this podcast, Dan's not listening anymore. Please, for the love of God, email me because I will make that happen.
Or me.
Yeah,
you
actually,
can
email
message me
Sally
on Facebook, seeing as you actually know me.
Please, I want to give Dan a heart attack. It's going to be amazing. Anyway, so Cameron says, thank you as always and enjoy the fanfic. So here we go. Let's settle in, boys and girls, for Chapter 2 of The Virtual Adventures of Simon and Dan. Are you ready, Sally?
I don't remember what happened in the first one.
Oh, okay. So Chapter 1, it's a sci-fi adventure. We were on a spaceship trying to escape, and and there were lasers. Can you tell I can't really remember? And I basically escaped. I got Dan and I off because I put a gun to my head, fired, and then like teleported behind an alien and shot it. There was like a weird moment where it was like I was holding myself hostage with a gun to my head.
Yeah, I think I remember that bit.
Yeah. Okay, so let's crack on. Chapter 2. Dan was getting tired. They'd been defending the room for 15 minutes already. The local starbase was certainly taking its time to get them off this doomed ship. I'd just like to point out, Cameron, there shouldn't be an apostrophe in there.
Honestly.
It's non-possessive. It's certainly taking its time to get them off this doomed ship. I love you really, Cameron. What the hell is taking them so long? Simon shouted at his Australian sidekick. Dan tapped frantically at his gauntlet. I have no idea. The signal's dead.
What was that?
My accent has not improved.
I think you'll find that Dan will be like, oh, I've got no idea. The signal's dead.
Is he Hugh? He's like a weird mix of Hugh Grant and David Attenborough.
Yeah, that really. I'm doing the whole kind of head bobbing thing as I do it as well, just to kind of get into character. It's a very Hugh Grant-esque head bobbing.
Oh gosh, terribly sorry. I have no clue. Simon reached forward and grabbed an alien who'd managed to get slightly too far. He tackled it to the ground, shoved his blaster into the monster's mouth, and pulled the trigger. Jesus Christ! Dan exclaimed. Talk about brutal! You can never be too careful with these things, Simon replied as he removed the bloody barrel from the corpse's dangling jaw. Oh my god. He stood up, looked down at his handiwork. He could be a little sadistic sometimes, but you really have to take pleasure in saving your own life. Oh my god. What kind of person do you think I am, Cameron? That is very you,
Simon. That is very
What do you mean that's very me? When have I ever done anything like that?
In fact, it's not. It's very me. I'm the sadistic one of the two of us.
Yeah, you're the one that was like pulling insects apart when you were a kid, probably. Okay.
No, I do that now for a living.
This is true.
Government
Yeah, exactly.
pays me to pull insects apart.
Dan heard the scrambled static coming from his wrist. Definitely, it wasn't. He didn't have a board game with him. The starship was finally getting through to them, but the signal wasn't quite strong enough. Not yet. Dan let Simon know. Give it a few more minutes, he replied. The duo continued firing their guns, throwing power grenades down the hall, killing alien after alien, monstrosity after monstrosity. They were both surely going to hell.
Do you want to have another go at saying monstrosity?
No, it's in now. That's fine.
Okay.
They were both surely going to hell after all the lives they had taken, but it was either the aliens.
It's fine. The Pope
them.
Doesn't believe in hell anymore. Did you hear that?
Yeah, like I love the fact that he said that, and the Catholic Church was like, "Oh no, like, ignore that." To be fair, I've read the New Testament.
You were brought up Catholic, weren't you?
No, not at all. I was brought up Anglican.
There's long-tailed tits outside my window. There's a pair of long-tailed tits.
Are they blue?
No, they're not blue tits. They're long-tailed tits.
Yeah, but I mean, it's cold out.
They're very cute. I love long-tailed tits. They're one of my favourite birds. They look like
so much about you.
They look like pink, and it's kind of like a pink and a dusky grey cotton candy, candy floss on the end of a tail. They are so adorable, and because they're so small, they have to huddle up in large groups to sleep so they can stay warm. And they're really sociable.
Welcome to the Birdcast with Sally LePage.
Sorry, do carry on with shooting monsters in the mouth and having their disembodied jaws hanging from the edge of the blaster. I am paying attention.
Thank you. Dan and Simon both knew they couldn't last much longer, just a few more strokes, and just as they were about to get overwhelmed, they disappeared from the ammo bay and arrived on the starship 0749 Poseidon. Just in time too, because just as they teleported, Dan's image froze. Simon tapped on his forehead to double check, and yes, Dan had gone completely passive, no response at all.
Good place to tap.
It's like a display screen.
I know.
Just give it a double tap on his forehead to like Dan.
I'm learning scuba diving rescue techniques, and the way you check if someone is unconscious is to tap on their mask. So that is the correct thing to do, is to tap on Dan's forehead.
Oh, okay. It's a big target. Roughly 30 seconds later, Dan resumed movement and apologised. Sorry, he said. Ed just got out of the bath. Time to go get ready for tonight's evensong. No worries, I just handed in this quest. It's okay, time to log out. Good session, though, Simon praised. Oh my god, we're in a game. Holy shit, this is such a plot twist. I did not see this coming. Hell yeah, it was. Same again tomorrow. I'm not sure. Kind of fancy. Hang on, Hell yeah, it was. Same time again tomorrow. I love this. I can get away with the accent. I don't constantly have Dan telling me off.
I mean, it is terrible, but it's also... Oh, wait. You're only allowed to do Dan in an Australian accent if you do you in a Bristolian accent.
Okay, that's
only
fair.
fair.
That's fair. Okay. I'm not sure. Kind of fancy the Skaven strike tomorrow. I'm in a bit of a fantasy mood, Simon suggested. What was that?
This is me trying to silently laugh, but it's so good. Just think of me with my mouth wide open right now. You can't see it, but yeah, I'm enjoying this.
Okay. Oh boy, that's going to be taken out of context. Simon suggested, he always loved to play the cleric priest, and of course, Dan was a Harry Potter fan, so he could never resist the opportunity to be the mage in a fantasy world, even if it was Warhammer, and not the wizarding world of HP. Oh, Harry Potter. I thought that was the source.
Yeah, not HP source.
Sure thing, Dan replied. I've got work, but it should be on afterwards. Great news, see you tomorrow, Simon said, and then logged off. He removed his VR helmet and stared at it. This new technology will never get old. It was genuinely as if they were really there, which really instills a certain amount of realistic panic. Time to get back editing, he thought to himself. Dan saw Simon log off and quickly followed. It wasn't quite the end of the night yet, and he was already getting quite tired. It may be a game, but it feels so real. The fight had really taken a lot of the energy out of him. He hadn't expected their ship to be hijacked, and frankly, not prepared for it. Playing the Skaven strike tomorrow will be a well-needed break. And that's the end of the chapter. I
thought that was going to take a very different direction.
Yeah, just Dan boots up porn afterwards. It's like, I've logged off.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Oh God,
it feels very realistic.
Well, that's don't give them ideas, because they will write that.
Please
thank
do.
you. No, don't. Please don't. Thank you very, very much, Cameron, for the fan fiction. I enjoyed that.
Have
That
you
was a good
seen
twist.
Ready Player One or read it?
No, I should read it, actually.
Because I hear bad things about it, in a sense that the guy's apparently a bit of a creep. And the film is different to the book, but I've not read the book nor seen the film.
Yeah, I bought the book as a present for a friend of mine a while ago, and he really liked it. So I should probably... I don't know. I've heard that, like, as a film, it's quite spectacular, but yeah, it's changed a few things. Mm-hmm. But I'll try and see it before the next podcast if I can. Like, I've not got very much time at the moment, but I'd like to see it, if nothing else, because it will be just kind of trashy entertainment.
Yes.
And yeah, I could do with some.
But
of
of the sort that Simon deems okay, and not of the sort that I deem okay, because Simon does not have double standards when it comes to films.
You're the kind of person that likes DC. I can just tell. And you probably haven't seen any DC films.
Well, actually, my friends and I are currently watching every single Marvel film in order every week.
Oh, how far have you got?
We just watched Thor, which is a great film.
What have you thought so far?
I can't believe that The Incredible Hulk was continued after The Incredible Hulk film. And that says a lot about how bad male superheroes can be, and it still not reflect badly on them, because that was so difficult to watch. Iron Man 2, I'd give that one a miss. Iron Man 1, it's a good enough film. Thor is definitely up there in my favourites.
Really?
Because I just think that Loki is such a fantastic character.
Oh, and you wait till you get the Avengers.
I've seen the Avengers. It's a proper... epic. I saw Avengers in the cinema when it came out. I've seen quite a lot of Marvel films. I just don't... they're all right. I've seen Black Panther. It was okay. Wasn't worth the hype. I've seen Avengers. Have I seen Avengers 2? I'm not sure.
Wow, I'm genuinely amazed that you've seen all of these films.
Yeah, I've seen loads. I'd seen Iron Man 1 and 2 before. I've seen Thor 1, 2, and 3.
What did you think of Ragnarok?
I thought it was absolutely hilarious, and it was really refreshing to watch. It was a film.
I need to rewatch it.
It was a comic book film for people that don't like comic books films, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it.
There were moments when constantly focusing on the humour did take away from the pathos of the scene, but I just enjoyed the humour too much, and it was fun, and that's what I often like about an escapism film, is just to have fun. I don't need it to be dark and broody and important.
Well, speaking of having fun, what have we learned today, Sally? What have we discussed in the article?
I've actually closed the article. It wasn't Widow's Peak. Widnall's Peak?
Wickham's Peak?
Wilkins Peak. I found it in my history.
Peak.
Wilkins Peak. We have found out that Wilkins Peak is a mountain that is 2 Snowdons, and that Simon likes to use the imperial system because he is an imperialist.
Because I'm a loyal member of the Imperium of Man. That's why. I'm no heretic. That's a 40k reference. Don't worry. I'm not actually like a British Empire nut, Daily Mail reading wanker. God, that's going to alienate some listeners.
Well, you are one of the 3.
Hang on. I'm a wanker.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's very common for men my age. So we also, you actually enjoyed yourself in Critics Corner.
I enjoy criticizing things. I am very sorry to the people.
You?
No, I am very sorry to the people who had to sit through it because Simon was too self-indulgent to cut most of it in the edit.
I'm keeping it in because it's good content. That's why.
If I had my way, there would have been more Crisis Corner and less Critic Corner.
So what you're saying is, I'm sorry, everybody, for actually, producing content which is boring, and I want more of you to have terrible things happen to you so we can discuss your problems.
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Ooh, because now I've learned what Discord is. There's also the live listening, isn't there? I sound like such a grandma. Saturday morning. Oh, I'm not going to be here on Saturday morning.
Are you scuba diving?
I'm scuba diving, so I won't be able to.
You can watch
I'll
it back
be in the car on the way to Cornwall, but I won't be able to join in the live listen. I thought, this would be the perfect time to join in the live listen and to see what it's like, and like maybe I can give them a cheeky little shout out and then watch the chat as it erupts. But I won't be able to do that because I was scuba diving.
Well, what you can watch back, and the chat will play with it on Twitch afterwards. Like, it won't be live.
It's not as fun, though, is it?
It's not as fun, I'll give you that. But like, it was the same every week, so they'll include a link to the Twitch in the description for those of you who are curious about that. But yes, unfortunately...
Well, I am now a member of the Discord, and...
For better or for worse,
some of you have worked out who I am.
That's all for this week's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice. You can like us on Facebook, and if you'd like to see our faces in very few videos, check out our YouTube channel, Spongy and Electric.
Or, as I like to call it, Squishy and Zappy. We'd also like to hear your terrible existential crises and some of your bird photos from outside, what you can see outside your window, and any other thoughts on the show. And these can be sent to us at spongyelectric@gmail.com, without the and, because they're awkward. And they would love to hear from you, because I won't be here next week.
She's definitely not reading that from a script. That was good.
Totally not. Professionalism.
Join us again for another tumble down the wiki rabbit hole, and we'll see you next time.
I said they. I should have said we.
And no, it's fine. Well, I mean, Dan and I will see them next time. You won't. You're not coming back on this show.
I'm not.
I'll be back in just a minute.
So Simon now can't hear what I'm saying, but for any of the Wikicast listeners, or readers I should say, Simon is currently going for a tinkle, for a number 1, for a trip to the little boy's room, and I just want to take this opportunity to, I don't actually know what I'm going to do now, but I wish I had something like a really embarrassing story that I could say about Simon at this point, like how... No, it's really annoying that I don't have a really embarrassing story to tell about Simon at this point. Oh, actually,